Welcome. This is Reflections of Community Outreach, and I'm Teresa Mayala. This afternoon, I'm delighted to have Keith Goode in the KOOP studios, and he's here to share with us about the Japan America Society of Greater Austin, also known as JASCHA. Keith has been a member and a volunteer of JASCHA for the past 3 years. He's quite a Renaissance man, as you will see as this conversation unfolds. And currently, he is a photographer for JASCHA. Welcome, Keith.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And I'm excited to hear about all the fabulous events and things that you have going on with the Japan America Society. But first off, would you share with us what the Japan America Society is?
Well, the Japan America Society of Greater Austin is a group that has the focus of, providing programming that would strengthen cooperation and understanding between the peoples of Japan and the United States. And these are a variety of programs and services that include cultural programs, teaching opportunities, learning opportunities, the whole 9 yards. It's a purely voluntary organization, and it's a great cultural experience.
What brought you to the Japan Society of Greater Austin? What was your inspiration?
Well, I've had a lifelong fascination with Japan. Well, I say lifelong. Since I was 9 years old, I've had a fascination with Japan. And so when I moved to Austin, I was completely unaware that this organization existed, and this, discovering this was a great opportunity for me to sort of nurture that fascination that I've always had with Japanese culture, language, entertainment, and its people.
Now, there's both a national organization as well as chapters in different towns and cities throughout the United States. Would you give us a little bit of a history about the organization?
Sure. I can certainly fill you in on that, as well as the history of the Japan America Society. So the Japan America Society is a member organization of the National Association of Japan America Societies. And this is a nationwide organization. Pretty much every large metropolitan area has a member organization. And again, the mission of that organization, NAHAS or NAJAS, and I'm not sure how you would say that, is to foster this cooperation and understanding between the peoples of Japan and the United States. And so, really, in order to be a member organization, you have to have that as your central goal as an organization. The Japan America Society of Greater Austin was founded back in, it's a fairly young organization. It was founded back in 2005. So really fairly young in terms of organizations within the Austin area. But we've grown a great deal since then, and we have roughly 140 members. That's up from, I think, under 10 just a few years ago.
Oh, that's fabulous.
So as more people discover the organization, we get a much greater membership.
And what does it take to become a member? Or you also have volunteers, say someone's listening to this and they'd like to volunteer. What would they do?
Well, now that's the beauty of the organization. You can be a member and not have to volunteer. You can just show up to the cultural programming or to the events, or you can volunteer. And we certainly welcome all people to volunteer with this organization, because there are so many things that we could be doing that we're not doing by virtue of the fact that we just don't have that many people volunteering. Rather than having multiple cultural festivals every year, we have one big cultural festival, such as the Aki Matsuri that's coming up this coming weekend.
And so what I'm hearing is that the mission of the Japan America Society is building cultural bridges.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And in a very friendly way, helping people learn about another culture.
Yes. So not only for folks here in the United States to learn about Japan, but we also have a great number of people from Japan who come to the meetings, and it's a great opportunity for them to learn about the United States as well. As you may or may not be aware, the University of Texas at Austin has a great number of MBA students who are from Japan, and this is an opportunity for them to come to a safe environment for them, in which you have people who speak their language, but then they can also learn a little bit more about the United States as well.
Now, you were mentioning about the event happening this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Would you tell me a little bit more about that and any events that you have coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great event. It's called Aki Matsuri. That's Japanese for Fall Festival. And it is the one festival per year that we have as an organization, where you have a number of programs and entertainment, from taiko drummers to traditional Japanese and Okinawan dancers, as well as, of course, everybody's favorite Japanese food. So, and this is a great opportunity for people who maybe their only exposure to Japanese culture is a Benihana. They can actually come out. They can see some of the more traditional cultures associated with the Japanese culture. We have a number of vendors there as well, and we have a silent auction in which people can purchase Japanese art and manga and anime and a number of other items.
What's
as well.
manga?
Manga is I guess the best way to describe it would be to call it the Japanese comic book. It is pictographic novels, visual novels that they publish, very popular in Japan and in America. And oftentimes the stories in the manga are translated into the anime, which is the actual animated stories.
Right.
So.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It's a great event. We usually have around 300 to 500 people who show up. My goal is always to drive as many people there as I can, because I have a great love for Japan, and I really want to share that with other people. And I think if most people were aware that this was going on, they would have a great interest in going to it. But that's just, my perspective.
I think it sounds like a lot of fun. And
right.
So tell us again the dates and times and where it is.
Yes, it is this Saturday, October 20th. It begins at 12:30 and goes until 4:30 p.m. We are going to be at the O. Henry Middle School on West 10th Street, just near Exposition, if you're familiar with that area. And just find a parking space around that neighborhood and come on in.
You also have classes coming up.
Yes. So every month we have what we call cultural programming, and this is free to the entire world that wants to show up, and this can be about a variety of topics. We've had cultural programming that goes into demonstrations of kendo, the various martial arts, but we get into the more refined arts of the tea ceremony, sumie painting, and a number of things. I've actually taught a couple of classes myself with this, related to the cool culture of Japan.
Share with us about that.
Cool Japan is a movement within Japan that is it's revolving around popular culture, and this is everything from anime and manga to what they call J-pop and J-rock, which is the Japanese pop and Japanese rock music. And so I've actually done 2 presentations with the organization. One is on anime and the modern expression of anime. It ranges over a wide history, of course, so I covered the most recent period of time. And then the last presentation was on how the J-pop and J-rock companies integrate in with anime to push their product abroad and let people have an exposure to it that wouldn't normally have an exposure to it.
Right. So would you share with us a little bit about anime and the the history and how it's evolved and things like that? Because I know that we've all seen like the little figures and, you know, we can identify the art, but for myself personally, I don't know much of anything about the history of it, and I would love it if you'd share about it.
Well, I think that the best way to think about anime and manga in general is to think about the way that the auto industry came to Japan. Japan had, of course, their own expressions of art, but this animation and the cartoons really came to them by way of their exposure to American culture, to Western culture. And they then took it and they did as they've done with many of the things that they've taken from Western culture, and they improved upon it, and they made it much, much better, in my humble but accurate opinion.
I like that, humble but accurate.
And so you've had a number of iterations of development for the manga and anime industries, and to the point now, you've got a variety of stories that span the obvious things that most Americans are exposed to, such as Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z, to really refined pieces of art where the drawing is spectacular, the drama is intense, and it's as good as any live action movie you might see. So it's quite an impressive genre. And I'm a big fan, and therefore that's why I was called to speak upon the topic.
So what do you love about it?
I think the best thing that I like about it is that the stories are quite simple, but they're quite touching at the same time. A lot of the anime dramas that I like revolve around slice of life is the actual genre that it is, and it's just taking a simple part of life and showing how beautiful that can be. I think with American culture and Western culture in general, we want to make a movie about something grand and unbelievable, but then we skip the beauty of everyday life. And a lot of these animes and manga stories just revolve about being able to see how important relationships are. And how, you know, you can do something, you can do one thing, one task, and make it a beautiful thing.
Oh, I love that.
So, me too. And thus, I'm a fan.
Do you find that it's a bit more innocent because of that?
There is a great deal of innocence, but I'm not naive enough to assume that there aren't elements within Japanese culture that can make it less than innocent.
Right.
And I'm the first to admit that does happen, but it's the same the whole world around. You know, everybody has the ability to make something beautiful or perverse.
Indeed.
You just have to take the bad with the good sometimes.
Now, when we were talking before the show, we had a little conversation, and you were telling me about some of the coolest places that are Japanese places in Austin that I can imagine a lot of people don't know about. Will you share some of your favorite spots and why they're your favorite spots?
Absolutely. I think that most Austinites are completely unaware how integrated Japanese culture has been with the Austin community and for how long it's been in the Austin community. There's a Japanese grocery / gift store called Asahi Imports that has been in the Austin community since 1967. And it's just amazing to think that this has been part of the Austin community, and most people aren't aware of that. In 1969, the Isamu Taniguchi Japanese gardens at Zilker were opened to the public, and this is a Japanese-style garden done with the elements of Texas culture, or Texas flora and fauna. It's just it's a beautiful garden. There's a Japanese peace garden in Fredericksburg at the Nimitz Museum. Absolutely gorgeous. So these are things that have been in the culture, in Austin culture for a while that most people may have missed. There are a lot of other things that have recently come into being that Austinites apparently love because they're very difficult to get into. I mean, Uchi is a great example of a Japanese restaurant that people love, but then Here recently, we've had Kome, which is always a line. Ramen Tatsuya, which is a brand new ramen place. It's about an hour-long line to get into, but it's well worth it. And we have Ryu of Japan, which is a family-owned business up off Burnett that's got some beautiful izakaya-style food and sushi. So most people will be very surprised to see as much Japanese culture in plain sight as there is.
Izakaya?
Izakaya. It's like bar food, basically.
Really?
It's beautiful treats, like okonomiyaki, which is a Japanese style pancake, and takoyaki, which is octopus dough balls. It's quite a unique flavor. and not to mention, we have a ton of trailers that are opening up around Austin that are Japanese inspired. We have Obento, we have Yoko Onomiyaki, which is again the Japanese pancake. We've got Love Balls, which is the takoyaki. These are great businesses, and these are Japanese families that are making it here in the United States and sharing their food with us, their delicacies, if you will.
Now, you were also mentioning about South by Southwest. Would you let us in on that?
Yes. One of my favorite events of the year, I have to admit, is Japan Night at South by Southwest. It's generally the last Friday of South by Southwest. Generally, it's at Elysium. And what they do is they bring in 7 bands from Japan. And from 7 p.m. at night until around 2 a.m. the next morning, these bands rock out, and they share with us their form of either Japanese pop, Japanese rock, fusion, electronica, Japanese punk. We've had a number of bands that are just actually quite popular in Japan now. Before they ever made it big here, they made it big there. They were here. We've had the Pillows, Chat Munchie, and a couple of big bands here recently. The ZZZs, all-girl punk band. They are a trip. But that happens again every South by Southwest. I also have a friend, Burton Turner, who's trying to organize another Japanese rock festival here called Samurai Night. And I keep telling him I'll stand behind you 100% on that because it's really great music.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun, and what a great way to get to hear a whole different genre of music that, we aren't exposed to.
Absolutely.
It would be kind of fun to play some of that on the radio here, wouldn't it?
I tell you, I have it. I have it on my little MP3 player.
Now, you also have a blog, AustinOtaku.com.
Yeah, I found that the more I learned about Japanese culture in Austin, the more I felt it needed to be exposed to the rest of the world. So I started AustinOtaku.com. That's OTAKU, by the way. It's Japanese for nerd, I guess, if you will. It's just someone who's extremely focused on one particular subject. And since I've been so fascinated with Japanese culture my whole life, I guess I would be an otaku. So AustinOtaku.com was just an outgrowth of my desire to expose Japanese culture to the rest of Austin. And so there are a number of reviews on there, a number of other things where I'm talking about either anime or manga or literature, for that matter. I'm a huge Haruki Murakami fan, who's one of the best writers that we have. I believe he's up for a Nobel Prize, in fact, this year.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Haruki Murakami, he's quite a surrealist in his writing. Some of the books that he's written are The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle, Hard-Boiled Wonderland, and The End of the World. Just exciting titles. He recently came out with a book called 1Q84, and it's just it's a really high-quality book. It's not the kind of writing that he gets a lot of credit for in Japan because it's very westernized, but his ability to tell a story wraps you in, and he can say the most ridiculous things to you as he's telling the story, and you'll believe it without thinking twice about it. It's a beautiful form of writing that he gets involved in. So,
And photography as well on your blog, yes?
I do photography as well. It's something that I'm fairly new at in terms of pulling out the DSLR and trying to take high quality shots. I've been doing it for years with point and shoot cameras, and I think that you have to have a visual in order to really pull people in. People think in symbols, right? We don't think in words. And if you can show us what you're talking about, we're more likely to relate to what you're saying. If I say the word horse to you, you envision a horse. You don't envision HORSE.
Indeed. That is very, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you bring the visuals in, and everybody loves looking at pictures, and I guess that's why, because you get so much information, conscious and unconscious.
Absolutely.
From looking at a picture.
Yes, and I'm happy to share some of those with you if you want to put that on your blog here as well.
Okay.
I have thousands.
Now, tell us again the address of your blog.
Oh, it's Austin Otaku. That's AUSTIN OTAKU.com. I would definitely encourage you to also check out JASCHA's website, JASGA.org. And if you want to check out, if any listeners are outside of the Austin area and they want to see if there's a local branch near them, they can go to us-japan.org for the NAJAS website and see what chapters are near them.
And will you give us the date and time again of the upcoming event this weekend?
Sure, absolutely. Aki Matsuri, or Japan Fall Festival, is on October 20th, this Saturday, at 12:30 to 4:30 p.m., and it will be at the O. Henry Middle School.
Great. And, there's Japanese classes given as well, language classes, right?
Yes. So every season we have a Japanese language class with the Japan America Society. There's a number of ways that you can really learn Japanese within Austin. And if I had grown up here, I would have been in heaven. ACC has some excellent classes. UT has an excellent Japanese department. You've got the classes with the Japan America Society of Greater Austin. There's a Japanese culture and language meetup group on meetup.com that you can join, I think at least once a month. And of course, we have the Austin Anime Meetup group on meetup.com as well. UT has an anime club as well that is open to the public. There's really no excuse to not get involved in Japanese culture in Austin if you're looking for it. Hopefully I can help expose where to find it.
And, we're almost out of time here, and I see
Sure.
Thor Armbruster coming into the studio, getting all ready for the next show. Very quickly, what's the coolest thing to you about JASCHA?
The coolest thing about JASCHA is just my ability to meet like-minded people, whether it be Japanese Americans living here in Austin or Japanese who are here studying in Austin, as well as other, Amerikajin, the Americans who are very fascinated with this culture. And it's great to be around like-minded folks. The cultural programming is wonderful, and I get to learn a lot about a culture that I've been fascinated with for 31 years now.
Oh, that's fabulous. Thank you so much for coming into the studio. We have been talking with Keith Goode about the Japan America Society of Greater Austin, and that website again is www.jasga.org. Thank you, Keith.
Thanks for having me.